gets in, fights for more yardage. Stewart to the mouth of the goal line. Touchdown!
Wow, that's just pure Stewart right there.
That's a big-time run by Jonathan Stewart.
Welcome to Bleav in Carolina Panthers here on Bleav Podcast Networks. Do you believe? Rate and subscribe the show on all major podcast platforms and subscribe to our social media channels on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Video available weekly at youtube.com/@Tobacco Road Sports Radio.
Do you believe?
Welcome into a brand new edition of the Bleav in Carolina Panthers podcast here on Bleav Podcast Networks. I'm your host, Desmond Johnson, joined by Sports Illustrated Carolina Panthers beat writer Schuyler Callihan and the Panthers' all-time leading rusher Jonathan Stewart. You can always catch the video episodes of Bleav in Panthers on the Tobacco Road Sports Radio YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Tobacco Road Sports Radio. The audio is always parked on all major podcast platforms at Bleav Podcast Networks. Loaded show for you today. Panthers started OTAs. Our own Jonathan Stewart got a chance to interview some of our rookies through the Carolina Panthers YouTube channel. We'll take a quick glimpse at that. Head coach Dave Canales had nice things to say about quarterback Bryce Young. Quarterback Bryce Young had nice things to say about head coach Dave Canales. It's that time of the year, so we'll go into their clips as well. It's open mailbag. If you got anything you want to talk about, you can do so here in the comment section below. It'll pop up underneath this like that right there. If you got questions or comments or anything, observations, predictions, whatever you want to throw out there, we're kind of wide open today, and we can do that. Carter Bryant, the host from the Bleav in Saints podcast, will be joining us around 11 o'clock. So at the top of the hour, we'll dissect Phil Simms and is it Matt Simms? I think his son. They have a show on Bleav where they actually rank the NFC South quarterbacks, and they ranked Bryce Young dead last. We'll debate whether or not is that right or are they just haters. We'll figure out one way or another if that's the case or not. Before we get into all the fun, though, quick word from our sponsors over at BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for all your summer sports this season for Major League Baseball, golf, NBA, and the NHL playoffs. Their stats, all the latest stats, news, and scores available to follow your favorite teams. Get the latest odds and lines, including the latest team matchups, player props, and odds on just about every sport out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. BetOnline, where the game starts. And I probably would have been screwed over if I had bet last night because we were watching the NBA playoffs. They did it to me again. Like I would listen to it on the radio, and it was Boston was up a bunch or whatever, and then I left it alone. And for whatever reason, I decided to come back to it at the end just to see what the final score was, and realize, oh, Indiana's up now. And then they tied the game. They go to overtime. Like the NBA playoffs have been kind of crazy this year without the old guard, LeBron, KD, Steph, Kawhi.
It's a new era.
Paul George, they're all at home. Like all of them are at home. It's just like all these new kids, all these new faces that are playing. I've enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed watching the NBA playoffs this season. So you can use BetOnline, make some money on the side, put it on Bleav's tab or whatnot.
It's kind of like the NFL when Mahomes, Lamar, Josh Allen, like that group kind of got.
We kind of just went through it with Brady and Manning and, Roethlisberger, like that group of quarterbacks finally kind of started moving on, and the newer ones started coming, like Josh Allen. We're kind of living it right now. It's just wild in the NBA. It feels like it happens like every 15 years. Like you kind of have to wait. Like 2003 is like the last time I could think of where it just was a complete flipping of the page of like the stars or whatever. But it's good. It's good. I enjoy it.
Yeah, I love the way Anthony Edwards is playing basketball.
Ooh,
it definitely reminds you of like the 2000s era. You had Stephon, you had Marbury still out here balling. You had
KG. That was last time Minnesota was in the conference finals was when they had those two.
Yeah.
And
been a minute.
Yeah, but the young Kobe, the younger, on the way out Shaq. But basketball was fun to watch because it was guys were actually playing defense, being scrappy with the ball.
That's what separates Minnesota. Minnesota plays like 90s defense, like all of them.
I can't wait to see this Kyrie Irving.
Man, yeah. Did you see how he kind of like called? He didn't really call him out, but he was like, "Oh, I got Kyrie next round, so we're gonna see what it is." Like, I mean, I love that. Like, he's already thinking about I get to match up against Kyrie Irving and see where my game is at.
Remember all those people that were trashing the T-Wolves for sending all those picks to get Rudy Gobert?
Yeah,
They're like, what are you doing? You already have Cat. Why do you need two bigs? Well,
They gave up 5
Here's
first
your
rounders
answer.
for the dude. Like he scores like 7 points a game. We're like, what has happened? But
I think, that's the difference. I think, like with the NBA, people get it all confused. Like a first round pick in the NBA doesn't really mean the same as it hits as in the NFL. Like there's a lot of value in that first, and there still is in the NBA. But you're talking like unless you are in the lottery, first round picks don't really mean crap. And especially if you Bleav you're going to contend like Minnesota, you're going to be picking at the back end of the first round anyway.
right. So it's almost like a second round pick. So yeah, exactly. Yeah. For the next 5 years, your core is going to be together the next 5 years or so. You're going to have to pay Anthony Edwards here in a little bit. You're going to pay him a lot.
All you need is 2 big guys to get them rebounds for your boy.
Really, like a rotation
rebounds and putbacks.
Bring one big man off the bench when one of them gets in foul trouble. Nas Reed, like the general manager for the Timberwolves, built the Denver Nuggets. So like apparently he built the Timberwolves.
He knows the recipe.
Nuggets, yeah. So I'm hoping the rest of the league. It's a copycat league in the NBA. I'm hoping the rest of the league follows suit and they start drafting big men again. Like I want in the paint, bang around type of ball. But to be honest, after dealing with a lot of these high schools, a lot of kids don't know how to play that way. Like they haven't been brought up to play in the paint. Like they're used to shooting. Like it's a 3-on-1 fast break. They're coming down. They stop and shoot a 35-foot three.
Well, basketball players now are basically saying like, "Hey, look, I'm a specialty guy. All I do is shoot. Hey, all I do is rebound. Hey, all I do is pass."
Yep.
Anthony Williams is saying, "Nah, bro. All I do is win. I'm trying to win this
all.
basketball game. I'm trying to do it all."
And I'm gonna pick your pocket. Like
yeah,
so many times he was just picking people's pockets at half court. I'm like, when's the last time you really saw that multiple times in an NBA game? They're like afraid to touch each other. But shout out to the NBA because they're actually putting in work and it's actually good stuff.
I have a confession, or not a confession, but an apology. I don't know. I'm not a big, what's the word? Things have to happen exactly the same way every time for a team to win. What's that called?
I know what you're talking about.
I gotta wear the same shirt every time.
Why's my mind going blank? Help us out, Schuyler. You're the writer. Help us.
Superstitious. Yes, there he is. My man. You're so good at that. You writer, you.
Yeah. Clutch.
But superstitions. Last year I went to the Hurricanes game and I rang the siren and they lost. This year I went to the Hurricanes game and I rang the siren and they lost.
No.
I think next year, if they make the playoff, I'm not going to ring the siren.
I don't think they're going to invite you. I think they've already had these thoughts too.
Well, they don't have to invite me. I'm just going to show up, but I'm not going to ring the siren. So sorry, Hurricane fans.
This time?
Huh?
Did it stay intact this time?
It did. Yeah, they had it bolted on this time.
They didn't break it this time. They knew he was coming, so
they had to make it screw-proof.
Yeah.
Guys, do us a favor if you're watching this on Twitter /X. I saw they officially changed the URL to x.com finally. It took them forever, but now you can go to x.com and not be worried about what's going to come back on the other side. It's actually Twitter. So if you can, share our feed at Bleav in Panthers while we're live so people can come in like Leonard Kowalski here. Shout out Good Morning Panthers Nation. You can just share it out to your feeds, and the more the merrier. As we get into OTAs, I'm seeing our boy Jay Stu getting more in the media game. Like he's spreading those wings, getting out there, doing that thing. He was doing something for Panthers.com and got a chance to interview our new rookies, Jonathan Brooks and Jatavion Sanders, both of them from Texas. And both of them big men. They are gigantically large in terms of, I didn't realize how big they were until they were standing beside Stu.
Those boys, those young men are trees.
Yes.
I feel like a stump. Boy. There's
a picture.
I mean, look at the size of these dudes. Like,
80.
That's wait, hold on. 85 is Jatavion Sanders, right? That's the one.
Yeah.
I mean,
he said he's gonna, earn his way to 0, and then
big boy.
And then you got Jonathan Brooks over there. He's standing at they say he's 6 foot. They say he's 6 foot, but my man is at least 6'1".
Yeah, I was gonna say,
that boy's got legit.
I'm 5'10". I'm 5'10".
Yeah, he about 2-3 inches on you. And Jatavion got you by a good.
Yeah. Maybe it's the shoes because I'm wearing Vans. You know what I'm saying? Vans got the low profiles. I got the low
JT
profiles
has size for freaking arms. I mean, look how huge his arms
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, that's a big
So I'm
boy.
liking these picks. So let's hear real quick. Stu interviewing Jonathan Brooks and Javion Sanders on day one of OTAs.
Jonathan Stewart. I'm here with Jonathan Brooks, and I'm here with Jatavian Sanders. Both of y'all played at college together. What are y'all going to do to maximize y'all's time here together on the field?
You know what I'm saying? Same thing we did in college, just elevated. You know what I'm saying? This the pros now, and we both got to take that next step mentally and physically to do what we've been doing.
You know, we kind of got a gist of, I know how he blocks. I know how long it takes him to get there. Like, we kind of had that connection already. Obviously, there's pros. The game moves faster, but like he said, we got to take that next step. And that's just a part of it, but we already kind of got that one step to where, like, we already got that connection.
I heard that you got a study group going on. Tell me about that.
Something like that. I had just introduced it to all the rookie guys, you know, on the offense guys. Just tried to, like JB said, just trying to help each other out. You know what I'm saying? Because it's all gonna be for the greater good in the end. Because we all teammates, so it's not a competition. You know what I'm saying? We all just trying to make each other better.
Obviously, you're coming off an injury, but tell us what your expectations are and what fans can expect and how those things are going to come to fruition sooner rather than later.
I say there's two parts of it. On the field, I mean, you can expect somebody who's going to make plays. Somebody's going to make the first man miss. Somebody who's going to try to be physical and just be a leader throughout the team and try to be a positive spirit, whichever way the game is going during the game. I have multiple, like, mentors in a sense. I've talked to Todd Gurley. He's given me a lot of advice. I've talked to my running back coach at Texas, Coach Troyce. And then basically just learning from the old heads here, the veterans here, and just really grasping in everything they say.
My man, I love it. Well, that's it. It's Jonathan Stewart with JT and JB.
First of all, let me say that Jonathan Stewart did a fantastic job with the interview.
Round of applause.
Yeah, round of applause. Did an excellent job. That video is courtesy of Panthers.
Thank you, fellas. Thank you, fellas.
You can see it over on their YouTube channel. The thing I took away from that, Jatavion Sanders talking about how they built a study group, like in May, like to study the playbook. That's good stuff. Because they don't have to do that. They don't have to do that. It's nice that they're going above and beyond to kind of build that camaraderie. I would think by doing something like that in May makes it to me, it makes it sound more like this isn't a competition. Like, I'm not coming in and take your job. We're all going to get better. We're all going to learn this playbook together. It's all brand new to all of us. And the fact that a rookie kind of organized that kind of tells me kind of about the player, like how he's wired, like what he is. So as soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh man, they're really getting into it here. We're doing Respond React here, OTA edition on Carolina, BleavingPanthers.com, the pod. And Willie Smith checking in, super fan. Willie, I think Willie said he's from the same town as Xavier Legette, if I'm not mistaken, in South Carolina, one of his previous episodes.
Down there, Mullins.
Yeah, Mullins, South Carolina. Dave Canales, head coach Dave Canales, took to the podium. Were you there, Schuyler? I think you were there when this press conference was going on.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Dave is talking about was asked about Bryce Young and his progress. Here was his comments here.
Dave, how do you feel like, I know it's very, very early, but how do you feel like Bryce is, how is Bryce picking up the playbook?
He's doing fantastic with it, and the way that we do it is part to whole, really. So as we teach our concepts, just for an example, okay, so we say we have a pass concept, right? We're not going to use 6 different formations today to run this concept. It becomes something really good that we're effective at. We'll start to build it out. So for us, the formations are pretty vanilla.
Okay, I wanted to stop it right there because he said the magic word vanilla, and it made me kind of what? Like, because we heard that word last year, and then we saw what happened with it. It went from, oh, this is just preseason vanilla to, nah, baby, this is the flavor for the whole year. It's vanilla. Like, we're using vanilla all year. And he said it, but he said it different. Like, he said it where it made sense. Like, okay, we're installing stuff. We don't need to be crazy right now. Let's just learn how to hand the ball off in this play, and then we can add all the razzle dazzle like after the fact. Stu, as a former player, how much do you appreciate just the little things, stuff like that, like to help the players learn these plays quickly?
Yeah, man. Especially this is again on the offensive side of the ball. This is all brand new. Again, just like it was brand new last year. But the difference here is they are aligned. That word alignment has been used how many times, Schuyler, this year?
12 billion.
But the thing is, I love it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's part of their DNA. And right now, if you can't walk before you crawl. You know what I'm saying? You can't feed a baby a piece of chicken without them figuring out how to chew first. So you got to give them, start off with that milk, and then you get to the applesauce, you get to the the baby food, and then you get to the crackers, and then eventually you give them some chicken.
I see some toddlers out in the wild though with a chicken drumstick, just like walking around. I'm like, you can't.
Boy, look, I got a picture. My mom got a picture of me when I was little. I'm dead sleep at the high chair with a chicken bone in my mouth. So look,
we gotta find that picture.
Yeah, I got it somewhere,
man. Gum it down. That's all it is.
But I love the approach because it's the only thing that makes sense, and that's we're learning a lot about the coaching philosophy, which is let's not panic. We got time. If we figure out how to run, this grouping of plays really well, then we can do these things really well, and then wait a long time. You got OTAs, you got mini camp, you got training camp, and then you have preseason, and then you have the first 4 weeks of the season, right? Really, the first 4 weeks of the season, teams are figuring it out. They're like, all right, who do we got? What plays are really working with our depth? And obviously, you're not showing your hand first 4 games of the season either. A lot of teams are doing basic things, but we have the Saints first game of the season, so we're gonna show something, right? Because we got to win that game. But vanilla is good to me because I'm a player. I just want to focus on what does the coach expect from me, especially the position coaching, right? Like, how does my coach want me to practice? How does he want me to, execute on, this blocking scheme? How does he want my alignment in the backfield? How does he want me to break off this curl and snap my head around? Like, there's a lot of nuances that coaches are looking for within their players. That's what's happening right now at OTAs. And so you need the vanilla looks. You need the vanilla concepts to get all of those things rolling in the right path. Everybody's getting to know each other. So let's not go out there and throw the whole playbook at everybody and have everyone run around with their heads cut off.
Which feels like it's kind of what they did last year. It feels like they just like here, just here it is, and it was almost like a cookbook that people put different recipes in. So like kind of like that's not the same cook.
Yeah, you gotta have the alignment of the cooking staff, right?
Yeah,
you talk about cooking, right? Like you got the main chef, the sous chef. Like everybody follows the sous chef.
Yep.
But the sous chef hires certain different chefs because of their qualities and the things that they can bring to the table. And so he lets them do the things that they do well, as long as they are all on the same page.
Reverend Saul says, so refreshing to have a coach that actually sounds like a coach. The details when he answers questions, he is very detailed. Mark Burke says, if y'all noticing this verbiage, I can't wait to hear the breakdown on Bryce's comments about his thoughts so far on the new staff. Lucky for you, Mark, I've got it right here. Bryce Young talking about the head coach and how they're installing the plays.
What stands out about the way he teaches? I think it's just the consistency he has. He has a very calming presence. He's someone that that has a conversation with you and talks with you. Good, bad, or indifference. You can tell there's an emphasis on teaching. At times, of course, we're passionate and coach a lot of time. There's a lot of yelling and a lot of emotion, and there's nothing wrong with that, of course. But just his style is very, he wants to teach. He wants to make sure that he communicate. It's not just oh, that's a bad throw or you missed. It's constructive. It's something where you can go back, and if you miss something, do something wrong, gives you something tangible of, hey, let's get our base in order. Let's focus on whatever it may be. It's something that, you can think about and, you can apply, which is, it's been really great for me.
So I have two questions here. One, Schuyler, you said you were there. Stu, I'm sure you've probably seen Bryce around the building. Is he bigger? Has he gotten bigger? Because I've seen a picture that's going around Twitter where he's like in a throwing motion and he looks all ripped or whatever. Has he gotten bigger than he was last year?
Yes. I saw as soon as he walked into the room, and I'm sitting first row. And I'm like, what's different about it? I couldn't figure it out for like the first few seconds, and I'm like, holy crap! I think he's just filled out more. And then I saw some of the other pictures, probably the same ones you came across of with him.
He was like throwing or something. So you can kind of see his arms.
You can see his arms are definitely bigger than what they were a year ago.
Arms are bigger, his neck bigger. Like, yeah, boy, filled out for sure.
Right. So that was my first question. My second question, the stuff he's actually talking about. Both of you guys have actually played way more organized sports than I ever have. Pop Warner and YMCA basketball is about as far as my career went. But have you guys ever had a coach like what he's describing in Dave Canales? Everyone's had a coach that's like the screamer, like they're going to yell like at everything. They're going to try to motivate you by getting you mad at the coach, that kind of coach. But have either one of you ever had a coach like this, where it sounds more like, just from hearing Dave Canales, the way he talks more like a teacher than he does a coach to me. Like he's trying to stay on your good side almost, but he's also trying to teach you whatever the concept is. Can you think of a coach that you've had in your career that you can kind of relate to being a Dave Canales type? And was it good for you? Was it good for you to have that, or would you rather have someone yelling at you and pushing your buttons, I guess is the best way to put it?
Yeah, my running back coach, Coach Skip, he was like that.
For Carolina.
But he had Coach Skip was basically kind of like, he had that father presence, and same with my running back coach at Oregon, Gary Campbell, had that father presence, which meant that like he carried himself and he talked to you like a father figure, but it was an approach where they meet you where you are. When you have a coach that can meet a player where they are, that is the most tangible thing.
That's a good point.
As a player, especially a young player trying to figure things out. But just in general, as a player, there's a level of respect there. Hey, your job is to coach, which means to teach. How are you going to teach? Like you gotta figure out how to get through to the player. Every player is different. Some guys might need to get yelled at. You know what I'm saying? And so, but then there's some players like myself. I never really responded to the yelling and the screaming, and luckily I never really had a coach that did that. And so I really love how Bryce described Dave Canales, because that's exactly what I'm expecting out of how I hear him interview, out of how I talk to him and how I've met him and his presence and how he carries himself. Like how Bryce is describing him, it's exactly who he is. He's a person that meets every single person that he comes in contact with. He meets them where they are, and he is there and he is present. When you have a coach or a person that is present within a conversation, it means something. It carries weight. People remember, the things that are being said. Whenever you have a coach or someone that's, giving you, one word answers, nobody remembers that. Hey, do your job. Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Do your job. But yeah, we know we're supposed to do our job, but what didn't I do that caused me not to do my job? Can you explain that to me? Do you have, the capacity to deal with me as a player on that realm? And Dave Canales does. And I feel like we're just in a different, day and age of coach to player, right? The player's coach. Dave Canales is a player's coach. Like he understands what the players need. He understands where the players are. He understands what they're going through. All the nuances with, today's age with social media, all the pressures, all the things that are going on at home, the levels of prioritizing, right? It sounds very similar to me of the things that Coach Rivera brought to our locker room. Coach Rivera was God first, family, and then football. A lot of coaches try to brainwash you to think, hey, football first.
And second.
Football is God. No, God is God. God first, family, football. Yeah. And so teaching these young men how to prioritize and teaching them how to communicate by how you communicate is huge. A great leader is one that leads by example. And you see already the young Brooks that interviewed, Jonathan Brooks and Jatavian Sanders, they already have the mindset. Let me tap in with someone that understands what this is all about.
Yeah.
Let me tap into someone that I can trust because I don't know it all. And those are guys that are coming into our locker room that's going to be a part of our culture, that's bringing not just humility, but a commitment to excellence within themselves, not dependent on coaching. So basically, you got a coach that's teaching these players how to coach themselves by explaining to them in finite detail of what they're doing wrong and how to fix it. So that way they can figure out how to articulate and possibly send the message down to their peers. So I love it.
It makes it where he's more approachable too, because I'd always heard like the difference between like John Fox and Ron Rivera was that John Fox wasn't as approachable as Ron Rivera was in terms of like the players just being able to come up and just start talking to him. And you bring up a good point, Stu, in terms of in the league. As soon as you said it, it made me think Sean McVay, Mike McDonald, guys like that are player coaches. They're like the new wave of like coaching. It's not that old school Bill Belichick, Bill Parcells just belittling you like all week long, like to get the point across.
And there's players out there that still respond that way.
Yeah.
Right. And if you get them all under, if you figure out how to draft them all and how to get all of them through free agency under one platform, you'll be great.
Patriots did it for 20 years. So,
I feel like that type of player is becoming a dying breed.
The biggest mistake that coaches make, in my opinion, at all levels, is they feel like they have to be your coach instead of being your friend.
Yeah.
And it sounds stupid, but seriously, like, I didn't make it to the NFL, obviously, but I'm sure Stu can relate to this. Like, you're going to have certain coaches where, like you kind of just mentioned, Des, like you kind of almost hesitate to go ask them a question or trying to get something cleared up because either A, feel like you're bothering them, or B, you don't want them to think you're stupid and not know what you're doing. But the right coaches that are there to be your friend, to help you and support you, those are the ones that, like a Dave Canales, like a Ron Rivera, they're going to have that connection with the players that they feel like they can go up to them at any certain time and ask any question and get it figured out. And I think that's the thing with Dave Canales is too, like, just because he's like this doesn't mean he's not passionate for the game or that he doesn't, excel in his role as a head coach. He's a passionate coach.
He just wants his guys to have the answers.
Yeah.
Right.
just be prepared. Be prepared.
You can fuel your energy, exhaust your energy in any certain way. Some coaches do it by screaming and yelling. In my opinion, that doesn't do a damn for anybody. But if you're out there using that energy in a positive manner, just like you said about the schedule with no primetime games, you're like, yep, got to earn it. Like, he doesn't care. He's not going to use that as motivation because the motivation is going out there and winning the game in front of you, not the one that is a year from now.
The more I hear from him, really, it's not even from him. The more I hear about the people around him talking about him, makes me feel like they actually landed on something really good here.
And it's consistency too, like
consistency,
and not that you have to be the same in front of the media as you do with your players, but it just goes to show you, literally, it doesn't matter if you're a member of the media, a coaching staff member, a player, someone that's a janitor at the stadium. He literally talks to every single person with the same amount of respect, regardless of your position.
I feel like if you're ever around a person and you have a conversation with them for a brief moment, and you walk away feeling like, man, I should be a better person.
Yes, exactly.
That's who Dave Canales is.
He's infectious. Like, you kind of want to be around him. Like, just to kind of see what's going on.
He lifts it when he comes into the room. I've never really seen many coaches do this. Like, he comes into the room, he's all smiling, he's all like, hey, everybody, how's it going? Like, you don't get that normally. Like, no disrespect to Frank. I mean, he's been through a lot. But like last year, you walk into the press conference, you're like, all right, guys, how's it going?
It's like the grandpa that just got off the shift. Yeah, he's just like, hey, everybody.
And he's been in it a long time. No shot at Frank, but I'm just saying, like, Dave just brings the energy.
I hope Frank Wright is sitting on Lake Norman somewhere with like a sweet tea, just staring off at the lake, just chilling. Just
why y'all bringing me up?
Yeah, well, I don't even talk about me. Like, Frank, I hope you're enjoying it. Just enjoy it, man. Like, kind of had to go through it for us to get here. You were kind of the sacrificial lamb, really, to get us to this point. So shout out to you, Frank Wright. Mark says Dave Canales explains things in a first principle manner. That's the type of coach that literally anyone willing to learn can learn from. I'm starting to believe the Panthers found something special. It does feel like I think from last year in particular, we got so used to it being kind of scattershot that we forgot what it's like when this program is actually aligned. I guess that's the word of the day. Is aligned is our word for today. It seems like they're all pointing at the same thing. I love the draft picks. I love Dan Morgan. Everything seems like it's kind of fallen into place. I wanted to get to the Bleav in Panthers Ultimate 53 because we've actually finished it. I actually got the secondary out yesterday. We're going to call the polls here right now. We were supposed to have Carter Bryant on. He is on a different. He's in Central Time Zone. I told him 10 Central Standard Time, which would be 11 now, but he still hasn't logged in. So we'll see if he gets in here or not before we get out of here.
I can rank them for you. We got Bryce 1. We got Andy Dalton 2. Jack number 3.
I was like, Dylon. I spit hot fire. I spit hot fire.
I throw hot fire. I throw and I spit and I rhyme. I rhyme and I throw and I spit and I rhyme.
Yo, I wasn't even going to go near Diddy in this episode. Somehow we just magically landed on him in a weird kind of U-turn way here.
I forgot about that. That was Dave Chappelle, bro. That ain't Diddy, but that was Dave Chappelle.
Oh my gosh.
That was Dave Chappelle.
He is in trouble. The Bleav in Panthers here on the Bleav Podcast Networks, the ultimate 53-man roster. We got all the way to the end of the defense. The first part was cornerback, and I just took 2 from each cornerback and safety. And as you can see, Chris Gamble is leading the poll. Josh Norman is in second. Ricky Manning Jr. in third, and Eric Davis is in fourth. It's going to be Gamble and Norman from the looks of it. So Gamble and Norman will move on there. Thoughts on that combo? That'd be a nice 1-2 punch cornerback combo. Gamble and Norman, well, in their piece. Yeah. I can live with that.
You
You
ain't catching nothing. Doggone thing.
Then I got
not that he played here for long. I mean, maybe he will, maybe a little bit more. But are we just talking overall talents in this thing? Because I mean,
it was hard. I ain't gonna lie. Taking the secondary ones was kind of hard because it was like, all right, clearly we've gushed about the Panthers defense over the past 25 years, but clearly it's been a front seven type of situation where they've had just, Hall of Fame defensive ends and out of this world linebacking cores like over the past 25 plus years. When you get to the secondary, it's kind of, I had to go look like for guys.
The reason I say that is because like if we're going on guys that made their impact here and had an impact on winning, it's a little different because you could throw Stephon Gilmore in there just because
I thought about it.
Overall talent, but I mean he was only here he wasn't even here a full season, so I don't know that you can really put him in.
I mean, that's actually a good point because here in safety, I had to pick Eric Reed. Eric Reed was only here for a year, and he got 15% of the vote. Mike Minter winning that pretty handily. Charles Godfrey in second. I can live with a secondary of Josh Norman, Chris Gamble, Mike Minter, Charles Godfrey.
When you have the front seven that you
with the front seven that we already put together, that's a pretty formidable defense. You got Cam running the offense.
We had guys like Chris Harris back in the day.
I almost put Peanut Tillman in here, but the same thing. He was just with us for a year. Like we've had some vets kind of come through in the secondary and do their jobs. JC,
Kirk Coleman did his thing.
Stu, were you ever a victim of the peanut punch?
Oh yeah, in practice. Like when his first showing, it was an outside zone to the left, and I got to the edge, believe it or not, and I was running up the sideline probably for about 8 yards, and I had the ball in my left arm, and somehow it's training camp, so I'm 8 yards, 11 yards down the field. Oh, I'm free. They about to blow the whistle. I'm going to get, extra 10 yards of a burst, and then I'm going to go back to the huddle. Peanut out of nowhere. Boom. Ball falls out, goes out it goes out of bounds. But man, was I upset. Coach Skip Coach Skip said, come to the sideline. He said, hey, baby, you got to hold on to the rock. I'm like, Coach, Coach, it went out of bounds. He's like, I don't care where it went. You got to hold on to that thing. You know that boy's out there. He's going to come for it. You got to be ready at all times.
I love it. I love it. And he taught the secondary how to do it because they were all doing it by the end of that season.
When I tell you that is a prime example of young guys taking advantage of a veteran that has elite experience of, changing the game.
Yeah.
Peanut Tillman changed the game. And I honestly feel like that was a huge boost in the way we played that year. Turnovers, the emphasis, the focus on turnovers and going for the ball. And, Dave Canales, it's all about the ball. Let's focus on the ball. Let's get good at the ball. like that's a prime example. If you not holding on to the ball, you're not taking care of it on offense, you have no chance. And if you're not taking the ball away on defense, you're making it harder on the offense.
And that's what happened to us last year. We couldn't take the ball away from anybody, it felt like. So it just creates this stagnant kind of team where you can't move the ball and then you can't really stop anybody because you can't take the ball away. But this defense that we put together, and I'll pull up some kind of final offense defensive roster type thing, but because I don't think I can do it all through memory at this point. But the roster is complete. We'll put that out. Pretty stout, actually. You got everybody from Julius Peppers on the front line. The linebackers was Kuechly, TD. I think Beeson made it. And in the secondary, we just did Charles Godfrey, Mike Mentor, Josh Norman, Chris Gamble. That's pretty tight there. And then we went through the offense earlier. Everybody from Steve Smith to our own Jay Stu, Cam Newton leading the charge, Jake Delhomme on the bench as the second backup quarterback. Moose is on the roster. I think I'd put it up against a lot of other teams, like all-time teams in terms of talent level. I ain't scared to go see anybody with this roster. Let's go. Let's line up and see what happens. So I think Carter is on some other time, or he just didn't see the email or whatever happened, but Carter's not coming through. So before we get out,
sounds like a Carter from New Orleans.
The Bleav in Saints pod earlier this week responded to former NFL quarterback Phil Simms and I think his son Matt Simms. They have a pod on Bleav where they rank the NFC South quarterbacks, and Bleav asked us if we wanted to do that and wanted to show the clip. And I've already shown so many clips today anyway, so I'm not going to pull that clip, but that was the gist of it. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, okay, so who are the NFC South quarterbacks? You got Bryce Young in Carolina, Baker Mayfield in Tampa, Kirk Cousins in Atlanta, and then Derek Carr in New Orleans. So out of those four, who would you rank number one, as we stand today in May?
Yeah, you gotta rank Kirk because of the stuff that he's accomplished so far.
Even coming off an injury?
Yeah, I mean, he's throwing the ball, brother, and hopefully he's got some protection.
I was going to say, yeah.
And obviously, we know that Achilles injuries are very, very tough to come back from. But the resources and the technology these days, surgeries aren't what they used to be. I mean,
we did see Aaron Rodgers walking around without a cane. Was it 3 weeks or something after he got hurt?
I mean, Aaron Rodgers is already back at practice throwing. Kirk Cousins, I think I saw him throw at practice. I'm not really too concerned as far as his availability and what he is going to be able to achieve. So, I mean, I'm not in the business of, taking, guys like Kirk Cousins and the yardage and, the completions and the touchdowns that he's thrown so far. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, he's not number one, because he is technically.
So Kirk's number one going into this. Number two, gotta give it to Baker, don't you? Didn't he throw for 4,000 yards last year?
I'd go with Carr, honestly.
I'm going with Baker.
Really? So hold on now. So you would pick Derek Carr before you would take Baker?
Yeah, the only reason I say that is because Baker's had one really good year, and that was with the guy that's now the head coach of the Panthers. And I don't know what that's going to look like moving forward. Is Dave Canales just really the quarterback whisperer? Like, I don't know. I think Derek Carr's had a longer history of being successful. It hasn't translated into wins, but he was also part of the Raiders. So, take that for what you will. I would go slightly Derek. Like, it's not clear, but I would go Carr. There's a longer history.
Carr seems like the Temu Wish version of Kirk Cousins.
I think
he's a version of Ryan Tannehill.
I think Carr's biggest thing is injury, right?
Yeah.
Can he stay healthy?
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing at the quarterback position. Like, if you can't stay healthy, then how can
Baker's been banged up too?
But he's been playing.
He's got weapons. Okay. So, like, New Orleans even have weapons.
Yeah, he's been playing through whatever he's been dealing with.
Didn't they cut Mike Thomas? They cut Mike Thomas, didn't they?
Yeah.
The Saints. Yeah. And Kamara's a year older, and he's been banged up the past couple of years too. Like, who does the Saints have, like, skill position wise for Derek Carr? Like,
Derek Carr put up numbers while he was healthy last year.
Yeah,
but it's just it's just going to come down to whether or not he's going to be healthy enough to be sustainable, to have the sustainability.
So Bryce is the worst quarterback in this league, or not the league. I
wouldn't go out to say he's the worst. You know what I'm saying?
He just happens
I think just based off of production over the last year, he's production level wasn't up there with the Kirk Cousins and the Derek Carrs and the Baker Mayfield.
You can't just be like situation. You can't be like, we're gonna rank him second because we like him. Like, we like his character. Like, he's a nice guy.
But you want to talk about projections? We can go with a whole talk about projections where we project the guys to be.
I think by the end of this season, I think the conversation could be a lot different.
I think based off of what we saw of Bryce last year and what we've been able to see. The effect that Dave Canales has, what he's had on quarterbacks in the past, we can go ahead and just put Bryce at the top as far as production wise this year, in my opinion.
That's what I want to see from what he did with these like Geno Smith. Because let's be real, y'all. Geno Smith wasn't. We were rooting for Geno, but Geno wasn't as good as he was, except for that year he was with Dave Canales in Seattle, where he.
Well, I think Geno's always been good. I think he's been in a bad situation. He was at the Jets, bro.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Sorry, Gino.
With the head coach that literally said that he did not want them to draft Geno Smith.
Yeah,
that's true too. He was
you going to work every day, all day, and being around people that don't want you there. How you think you're going to perform? How you think your spirits are gonna be in that locker room?
And then you get Dave Canales. It's just like a breath of fresh air, and you're like
whew, I'm locked.
Geno should have never had to wait as long as he did for a second chance.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's guys all around the league that get second chances like this, and he had to wait 7-8 years.
His first round pick, wasn't he? He got drafted.
You know why? We ain't gonna talk about it because then that's a whole different.
Be there for another hour. So I just want to see if the Canales effect is real, like between Geno, I think he worked with Russell Wilson before that, and Baker Mayfield last year, and they all had career years with Canales being in the building.
Wilson,
even Russ.
Yeah, so I'm and they all got paid kind of right afterwards too, even Russell. So it's like, kind of curious to see how this looks with Bryce, especially if Bryce is like buffed up Bryce now. Like, if he put on some muscle.
Bryce's arm looked like mine right now. That's what that throwing arm looked like that, didn't it?
I want to see Bryce stiff arm somebody. Just straight.
Go ahead, Bryce.
Jay Stu put him through the earth type of just. And
I don't want to see you stiff arm nobody. I want you to just go back there and nobody touch you. Offensive line just do their job.
Yeah, I don't want to hear the names of the offensive linemen all year, because if I'm hearing their names, that usually means they messed up in some way. If they're doing great, you never hear their names on TV. So
you know what? This year, when the offensive line is doing great, we are going to talk about them.
Oh, we're going
to like, man, you know what? You saw that pancake block, man. Damon Lewis and Robert Hunt.
There's some big dudes too.
Got some somewhat breaking news, not really earth shattering or anything totally Panthers related, but the 2026 NFL draft going to be in Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
They got a casino up there.
Yeah, Rivers Casino.
Yeah.
I might have to make the trip.
It's gonna be cold.
Yeah,
I don't know how transportation is gonna be around there.
You know, it's gonna be raining in Pittsburgh in April, early April. It might be snowing in Pittsburgh. Like
that, yeah.
Global warming, it ain't gonna be snowing. It don't snow anymore.
We went up to.
You're gonna go to a Pirates game, Schuyler?
Yeah, absolutely,
dude.
That's what I'm saying. We went to a Pirates game last year for opening day, and it was probably 38 degrees. It was.
I was in Chicago when they were in the drafts in Chicago a couple years back on a business trip downtown Chicago, and the weather was okay. It was outside too, I believe. What do you think of the odds of Charlotte ever hosting the NFL draft?
Oh, I think they will. It's just a matter of when.
You think they'll ever? You think David Tepper's the type
if
to
Pittsburgh and Cleveland can get a draft, I think Charlotte can.
Oh, absolutely.
Most definitely, yeah.
I mean, obviously, these places that are getting, the bid, they're kind of labeled as touristy, opportunist towns, and they kind of, flow like that. As far as sports towns.
There's really in Detroit this year. Was it Detroit? I can't remember.
Yeah, this year was it Kansas City?
No, Detroit. Last year was Kansas City.
Yeah, so they're kind of making the rounds. So I mean, I could see David Tepper wanting it to be here.
I'd like for the Super Bowl.
That was my next question. Like,
and I know a lot of people say there's no way. Indianapolis has hosted the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they do have the infrastructure though, because of like basketball and stuff, right? Because Final Fours have been there, so they've got the hotels and stuff. The Charlotte, I haven't been to. Well, I went to Charlotte recently, but I didn't really pay attention to. It seems like the hotels are outside of Charlotte, like Concord.
That's the problem. Is Charlotte is not like, well, especially like the stadium. Like, there's not a whole lot of real estate around the stadium for fans.
Yeah, because you're right uptown, right? Like it's like right there by the highway. So you have to almost. I almost pictured Tepper eventually building a new stadium, like right on the North Carolina South Carolina line, like out by like Carowinds, like that area, like because there's a lot of real estate out there. Yeah.
You can have the 50-yard line as the border. So when you could throw a pass from your 35 and throw it to the other state.
Throw it in South Carolina. I got the idea from Carowinds.
Touchdown, North Carolina. Touchdown, South Carolina.
Every time I go to Carowinds, I think about, because Carowinds is on the state line. You can be in Carowinds and walk across North and South Carolina. I'm like, they should put a football stadium like right over there in that big field. It's sitting over there across from 77. And you can get to it pretty easy. So
that to me would be the only issue is, again, just the real estate around the current stadium. You're going to have too much of a cluster there.
We saw what just happened with Tepper trying to build the headquarters in Rock Hill. Clearly, he's got the money. If he wanted to just build a stadium, he could just build a stadium. He could build a Tepper World if he wanted to. Wow, that would be crazy. And something cool. I was actually visiting High Point University on business earlier in the week, and they've got like a $50 million brand new basketball arena, and they were touring it with me. And I didn't realize that they have a hotel built into the arena. So like when people come, like parents or whoever out of town, they don't have to go off campus. The hotel is in the arena. I'm just like, this is crazy.
That's becoming a new thing. I see the Toronto Blue Jays in their dome. Mm-hmm. They have I guess it's a hotel attached behind their outfield. So when you walk in to your room, you're in the stadium. Like you have a balcony inside the stadium. You can see the whole thing. It's really cool.
See, and they could do something like that with football here. And if you do something like that, then you can attract a Super Bowl where, you've got places nearby to stay. You're going to bring business into Charlotte and South Carolina, I would imagine. So I don't know. I don't know. It's still David Tepper. So I don't know if the NFL has any interest in even talking to him about this, or if he's even tried to do this. I see people in the comments saying we need a dome. I don't want a dome. I like that we play outside. I don't want to be.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I don't want to do the Atlanta Falcons Saints deal where it's like
everybody's doing this dome stuff. It takes it in Charlotte. You're in a really good spot too, because it's not like you're getting. I mean, it's hot for September, but after that, it's not that. It's manageable.
Pretty cool.
And
yeah,
it's not like you're dealing with cold weather either.
Thank you, global warming, because when was the last time it snowed? I'm trying to think of the last time I saw snow. Like 3 years ago. Good Lord, we didn't have an ice storm this past winter at all. Like I think it was only cold like once. It's been about 40, 50 degrees. Like
it ain't snowed, but it's been cold.
It got down a little bit, but we didn't have any kind of like snow or anything like that. So roads were fine. Everything was fine. I would love it personally, but I don't want a dome. I wouldn't want I don't even know if you need a new stadium. The Panther Stadium ain't that old. It's only
the Panther Stadium is really nice, man.
30 years old.
I feel too like if you have a roof or a retractable roof, you're taking away from the scenery of
the uptown.
That was the thing I like, seeing the skyline.
That skyline is amazing.
It's beautiful. Especially on a clear Sunday in the fall where it's like no weather, no clouds, no wind, and the sun is out, but it's not too hot. Because the last game I actually went to was actually 2015 in the stands against it was week 3 against the Texans when Josh Norman had that. No, not Josh Norman. When Cam did the flip into the end zone, I was in the opposite end zone, and so was the sun. The sun was like right here, and it was like 85 degrees outside that day. It felt like in the stands, so we were out there cooking like bacon. But we had a great time. And once you get past that part, you're good to go. Actually, I just saw Carter just popped up in the screen here. Carter the power in the house. We're actually about to log out. You're
Carter,
you're a little late.
Carter, man, you late, man.
Well, no, you said 10:30 Central. That's what it said in the email.
I think I did.
Desmond, you tripping, brother?
I was thinking,
my goodness!
It was supposed to be 11. Well, we started.
Man, look, Carter, I apologize because I was talking junk, bro.
God
bless. The original email I sent out with the link, it says for 10:30 because that's when we started, 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. In the email, I think I said, Carter, you're on at 11 Central Standard Time because I know you're in a different time zone or whatnot. So
this is it says Carter log in at 10:30 a.m. CST. So
and that's now. that's me.
Well, if y'all want to log off, I'll just go by myself. Man.
Carter finish out the rest of the show. No, you actually came in at the perfect time because as we're winding down, we were talking about ranking the NFC South quarterbacks, and we got it to so we had it number 1, Kirk Cousins. Then we kind of had a tie with Schuyler and Stu for number 2 between Baker Mayfield and Derek Carr. Your opinion here coming in from the Bleav in Saints podcast. Would you, if you had an opportunity, would you trade Derek Carr for Baker Mayfield?
No, I think Bryce Young's better than all of them.
What?
I think Kirk Cousins is a little washed. I mean, he's coming off an ACL. He has no mobility whatsoever, and we'll see what he could do next year. But I'm shocked we're going on a Panthers show, and I'm the one defending.
We're a little confused here. We weren't expecting this fire from Carter coming in.
Well, let me ask you guys this, and especially Jay Stu. You played in the league, man. You're a part of the most underrated running back draft class ever, all the way back in 2008, man. And I am a huge draft guy. And what a lot of people don't get, and when I've spoken to NFL running backs about this in the past, and maybe Jonathan, you could add on to this, your draft class is so important because like you're competing against guys to go to the absolute best spot possible. And I'll never forget that 2008 running back draft class with Ray Rice, Jamal Charles, my favorite back. I'm sorry, Jonathan. He's from New Orleans, Matt Forte. That's
Matt Forte was the very best running back in our draft class. No question.
Okay, so this is what I ask you. Would you take him over Jamal Charles?
Yes.
Ooh, that's tough.
Yeah, they're two different kind of backs too.
They're two different types. Yeah, but Jamal Charles, I mean,
he was a problem too.
1A, 1B.
Yeah, he was a problem too.
1A, 1B. Chris Johnson.
I was gonna say, was Chris Johnson in your class?
Johnson was in my class.
Yeah,
he was obviously proof of concept that you can run for 2,000 yards if you fasten everybody. And he had vision. He had all the tangibles to make him great as well. But just my personal take, I like Matt Forte because he basically was a workhorse. I mean, I even think that's his motto, right?
Yeah.
Which is I'm going to grind it out even when it's not there, and eventually it's going to pop. And so when you get running backs that can figure out how to create their own lanes when it's not there, those are the running backs that I'm looking at.
Carter, let me ask you this question while we got you on here. Looking from the outside in, And you guys, of course, played Bryce and the Panthers twice last year. And I don't remember either one of those games being like blowouts or anything like that. The Panthers didn't really have games where they just, well, let me change that. We did have games where we just stunk, but our defense kind of kept us in the game. And it was kind of a rock fight all year when the games we played. So it made it where it was like a car accident. You couldn't turn your head away, but you kind of knew what was going on, like one of those kind of situations. I don't think we're going to be there this year. Give me the one thing as a Saints fan covering the Saints, as you see what Carolina has been doing in the offseason with free agency and the draft and redoing the front office and Dave Canales and everything else, what's the number one thing that, as a Saints fan, that has you concerned, if anything, about Carolina and what they've done in this rebuild?
Yeah, here's the thing. I got an email from the Bleav Powers that Be. So I've been doing the show for like a few months now, and I'm mostly a YouTuber. So going into like just the audio only podcasting thing has been interesting. And they sent me the Phil Simms clip of his NFC South quarterback rankings. And the thing that drove me crazy, this drives me so nuts. Why is it just for certain across all platforms, as far as the East is to the West, that Bryce Young is the absolute worst quarterback in the NFC South? It makes no sense to me. Makes absolutely no sense. The NFL changes more than it stays the same, especially you three guys have been covering the NFL for a very long time, been doing the show for a while now. And there is so much that has changed just within the NFC South division. I just truly do not believe Bryce Young is as bad as he was last year with the worst supporting cast you can even think of wide receivers and a first-time play caller, a head coach that wasn't even fit for the job. He wasn't even motivated for the job, as many of you saw with Frank Reich last year. So, you know, I have been slandered for this. I have been called every name in the book because my main job is actually as an LSU YouTuber, and people are like, man, why are you defending Bryce Young? He went to Alabama.
There it is.
Yeah.
He's the rival Carolina Panthers. And I understand he looked bad. His QBR was bad. His EPA per play was absolutely hot dog water, atrocious. But you take what was the best play caller in the division, you take him away from Baker Mayfield, who has mostly been ass his entire career, and you add him from one division to the next. And Jay Stewart and Desmond and Schuyler, you guys, you know the NFL. It is a zero-sum game. So if you're taking the best play caller away and adding him to what was the worst play calling situation in the NFL last year, and you add pieces, a guy like Jonathan Brooks, that I think is actually a really good player and someone I just took in my dynasty league in the first round. You add a guy like Xavier Legette. It wasn't my favorite pick. I would have gone Keon Coleman and a few other options right there, but I think he's something. He's better than Jonathan No Separation Mingo, who you selected last year. So I think the Carolina Panthers will have some positive regression, and it could just be that I myself am short, and I'm always going to be protective of my fellow short kings. And Bryce Young is a pipsqueak. I understand.
I'm short too.
But Baker Mayfield's short too, though. Baker Mayfield's what, only 6 foot, something like that.
Exactly.
He's taller than me.
So I
think we're on the same page though, guys. Like, because like as far as what you're speaking on, we kind of went off of we started this conversation with going into. So like, meaning it's OTAs. We are where we are right now. So we are going into the season based off of what has transpired last year, right? What's your answer? Because how I perceive what you just gave us was projections, what we expect. So going into not what we project, but what has had what level of play, what level of clout, I guess these guys already have going into this year. What would you rank them now?
Yeah,
based off of last year.
Yeah, so Bryce Young would be my number 2 quarterback going into next year, ahead of Derek Carr, who I think will turn more into dust this next year. We'll see. You know, just to give you a little background with Saints, they're moving some offensive tackles around. Their first round pick, Talise Fuaga, who they initially thought was going to play on the right side. They've actually been moving him around and seeing what he can do at left tackle. And then they're moving Trevor Penning, their former left tackle, to right tackle. And you guys know, I mean, in the NFL, you're only as good as your offensive tackles.
We know
And your last play.
Right. So we'll see how that turns out. But ultimately, I do think Bryce Young will be better next year. And look, I like many had Bryce Young ahead of CJ Stroud in my own evaluation process. I do my own film evaluations and all that stuff, but I would have Bryce Young as especially if Kirk for some reason can't go, I would have Bryce Young as the best quarterback in the NFC South. But we'll see how it plays out. And I just don't believe the gap between him and CJ Stroud is like CJ Stroud's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I just refuse to believe Bryce Young is just ass like he was last year. I just don't believe it. I saw enough in college. I saw, the thing that really made him stand out in college was he was one of the first Alabama quarterbacks to truly carry an entire offense with shaky protection. He had Jameson Williams his first year and he had Jahmyr Gibbs the last, but those are the only plus weapons he had in that entire offense. Now you give him Deontay Johnson. I think he's going to be a lot better. Now, as far as Derek Carr is concerned, we'll see. Like, he took a lot of bad sacks last year, one in Green Bay that eventually got him hurt. That it should have been thrown with plenty of time, and he needs to be more aggressive. But overall, the thing that I just keep going back to is just the frustration with Derek Carr and his wide receivers last year. That's something. Body language is something to me. And I don't know if that's going to be fixed next year here with Chris Olave. I don't know if the Saints pass catchers are going to be overly excited to play with Derek Carr, even though they do have a new offense, and they're going to try and do what the 49ers do with Coach Kubiak coming over and doing a lot more wide zone kind of stuff. I will say Derek Carr's weapons are far superior to that of Carolina's, but we'll see how it plays out.
Who's the backup in New Orleans right now with Winston moving on?
Yeah, so Jake Haener is getting the second team reps, but it's going to be a battle between him and another short king, Spencer Rattler. Two
South
shorter.
Carolina.
What's that?
South Carolina, right?
Yeah, from South Carolina.
Yeah.
So I did a deep dive on this on my main NFL
I like
channel.
Spencer Rattler.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you like about him, J. Stu?
He's got some grit to him, don't he? A little spunk.
Yeah.
A little moxie.
No, but I just like his decision making. I feel like if he has the right coaching staff, if he has the right scheme, because it showed last year when he was with SC, whoever the offensive coordinator last year was for SC, the difference maker was that. Period. He can deliver when the X's and O's are being basically measured to him. Being able to get the ball out quick, being able to hit the ball on the seam. Like, he has a good seam throw. And if you have somebody that, like Xavier Legette, to go get it in the seam, which I'm pretty sure you're supposed to have someone like that at this level, then you're going to have a guy that has his types of throws. If you design, the playbook or, the call sheet on game days and practices for what he's good at, you start there, you can develop into a really good quarterback.
Yes. So that is interesting that you mentioned that the play calling. Their offensive coordinator was Dow Loggins, who actually had NFL offensive coordinator experience, and Bryce played behind probably the worst offensive line in the SEC last year, or at least that was what I charted on my SEC channel, Power Hour SEC. So yeah, I think I said Bryce. I meant obviously Spencer Rattler.
Yeah, because he got sacked a ton. He was getting hit all up in the head.
Yeah, and
which is why his stock in the short term probably dropped, right?
In a way. And look, that was how Xavier Legette broke out. number one receiver, Juice Wells, got hurt, and Leggett just kind of became the guy, and it really showed. The Georgia game is where Rattler was truly amazing, and they're up 14-3 at halftime. So it was an interesting game to say the least.
Real quick before we end the show for this week, while we've got Carter Bryant, host of the Bleav Saints podcast here. So we've got a fellow NFC South podcast host in the house with us. As it stands today, May 22nd, 2024, Carter, if you had to pick one of these four teams to win the NFC South, who would you put money on over on BetOnline?
Yeah, so I actually would pick the Saints. I would. Now
even with Derek Carr being, booty.
Yeah.
In your words.
Well, that's the thing. There is a high likelihood that all four of these quarterbacks could be that next year.
I'm looking forward to that. That'll be fun.
So what's driving you to make that case? Is it the defense? Is it the running game? Like what's your thought process there?
Yeah, so Saints last year 15th in the NFL in DVOA, top 10 in yards per pass attempt, and all of that. Saints defense should be pretty good, next year. I think motivation is going to be interesting this next year for Chase Young. I like the high upside if he's fully healthy, ready to go. He got a taste of the Super Bowl last year, so coming over from a winning culture, adding him with Cam Jordan and Tyrann Mathieu and Demario Davis. I really like their defense going into next year. And
they got great leadership.
Right. And that matters. That matters, especially if you were stale last year like the New Orleans Saints were. And there is a world where I'm wrong and Derek Carr goes back to what he was at the Las Vegas Raiders or the Oakland Raiders at the time, right? Saints did not do play action enough last year. Derek Carr had a 14% play action rate. Even if the run game's not effective play action, over the long run could still be an effective play. And I feel the Saints will do more play action off of, some wide zone stuff going into next year. I'm not as high on the Falcons as maybe others, even though their skill position guys are very interesting. Carolina, we'll see what they have going into next year. I did like the head coach decision to go to Dave Canales, and I'm just selling the Buccaneers, right? I felt like last year they exceeded their maximum. This is a pretty good buy low opportunity on their win total as well on the under. You give them now the first place schedule, and we'll see what Chris Godwin is next year. We'll see what Mike Evans is next year. McMillan's a very interesting weapon you add in. Defensively, I like Callihan Kancey a lot. That was one of my favorite first-round picks last year, but we'll see what they could do. But I for the second straight year, I just don't really think any of the teams are all that great. I know the Falcons will be the odds-on favorite to win the NFC South. But for right now, I would give the slight edge to the Dennis Allen New Orleans Saints.
I ain't gonna be mad at you, the Bleav Saints host. So you picking the Saints? That's
you got to protect. You got to protect yourself.
Yeah,
man. You might mess around. You might get.
I ain't mad at you.
Look,
you might get hit by a car or something. I'm asking.
I have been destroyed for being a little too critical of the teams that I cover. I truly do believe it, because I actually go and I believe whatever. I actually go and try and place wagers. One of my favorite thing are win totals, the over and under numbers. So I will lean Saints, but I am a little bit more bullish on the Panthers this year than most.
I think they're going to win more than 2 games. We've landed there. We feel like we're going to win more than 2. We don't know what.
Do you think that the Carolina Panthers are going to be 4th, or you think the Buccaneers are going to be 4th?
I don't. I would guess the Panthers would go to about a 6-win team. I think that would be a good
in the NFC South. Yeah, I mean,
right.
In the thick of things.
Sad as that sounds, yeah.
Willie Smith is saying, Desmond, you need to have the other Bleav shows on a preseason episode. Actually, we do that in August in the preseason. Typically, I'll grab like Will McFadden, who hosts the Bleav Falcons pod, the Bleav Saints host, and I forgot what it's called. The Tampa one's called something else. It's not Bleav Bucks. It's like Cannon Fire or something, the Cannon Fire podcast or something like that. So usually we rotate them in and have one of them in here each week in August while we're doing preseason. So Willie, you can look forward to that as we wind down our season here. This may be the last episode of the season. I'm not sure yet. We haven't really discussed it, but we're getting to that dead period of the calendar where we'll get into the dog days of summer and then training camp in July, and hopefully we'll have some stuff planned for that. But follow Carter on X at Carter the Power, Bleav in Saints podcast. Welcome aboard to the Bleav podcast family. Carter, you're going to enjoy it here. There's a lot of interaction and a lot of opportunity to get your stuff out here with Bleav. So welcome aboard, my brother. We're going to get out of here. Schuyler had to get out because he's actually having to cover West Virginia? Yeah, West Virginia's conference baseball tournament. They start at 10 a.m. This morning with their game. So he was having to do a little double duty.
That's crazy. Yeah,
so he had to hop out. But for Carter, for Jonathan Stewart, I'm Desmond Johnson. You've been watching and listening to the Bleav in Panthers podcast here on Bleav Podcast Networks, powered by BetOnline. Keep on it.